Chris Blau.
What's up, brother?
On the Ironsides podcast.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up? I'm stoked to be here, man.
I'm stoked you're here. Thanks for coming out, man.
Well, thanks for putting us in this amazing setting. We're in an undisclosed location, which happens to be Chris's backyard here. It's amazing setup here. The weather in Arizona is
Can't beat it.
basically perfect Arizona weather.
We suffer through the 125 for 3 months.
Yeah.
To have 9 months of
To get to this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I was staying in the van, and it gets down into, I don't know, was it in the 60s even last night? Low 60s?
71, 70.
Yeah, just perfect. Windows open, fan on. Get up, sun coming up, and it doesn't really, like Cece, who's flying out today after we're done here. I'm gonna go pick her up from the airport. She's like, what's the weather like? I'm like, well, it was like kind of high 80s, mid high 80s, but it feels like 70, or whatever here because of the weather. Anyway, I don't want to get on with it, but the reason it took me so long to get out here is because I was not coming in that 125 degree Hades heat, man.
Dude, it's so hot that in the summer you turn your shower to the coldest setting.
Is that right?
It is still so hot, it's uncomfortable, Scott.
Yeah, no, I can't live like that, bro. I can't. I just can't do it. Just check my cameras here, make sure we're all good.
Man.
Yeah, so for those people listening, we are in this outside venue, and so if you hear background noise, airplanes, helicopters, whatever fly over, birds.
We got a school, so there's kids, recess, and
dogs barking. That's what it is.
Yep.
So just getting right into it, man.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked to connect with you and learn more about you because we got connected at Atlanta Range Day out, I think it was in May of this year. Ended up having an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time together. There was sort of this, I was out there, I was supposed to get with several people to podcast, a bunch of stuff that hit everybody in the side of the head that was unforeseen happened.
Sure.
And it kind of impacted that, which I was bummed about because I didn't get to meet with folks. I got rain checks on all that. But that said, it did give me an opportunity to hang out with you.
Yeah, we hung out quite a bit, man.
Yeah, it was totally unexpected.
Same.
Yeah, and got to have some really cool conversations and just get to know one another a little bit. And then kind of since then, we've been going back and forth. And I've learned a little bit more about you, but I really wanted to come out here because in my learning about you, I've found a lot of interesting things that I bet people that see you quite frequently or maybe even know you don't know. And I'm like, have you ever told that story before? I'm like, and you said no. And I'm like, well, we gotta get that out there.
I've lived a very blessed, awesome life, done a lot of awesome stuff. So,
well, I think the thing that people that are maybe in the shooting community know you from is from the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And, they probably look at you like, dude, this guy gets to shoot all the coolest shit all the time. And they want to know a little bit about that, but they'll recognize it when we say it. And then, those people that have been, I would say maybe more in the, not just the shooting community, but a little bit more involved sort of on the suppressor side of things. You've been in the sales game a little bit too. So you've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's back it up, man.
Yeah.
Let's find out. I'd love to find out a little bit more about you and just kind of who you are, where you came from. And
cool.
So I say the same thing to everybody. You can start wherever you want and finish wherever you want. You just have to be patient with me because I might time you out to get details in between.
Love it, dude. Yeah.
Shoot.
So born and raised in Phoenix area, lived in Utah a couple years, Idaho a couple years, but back down here when I was in 7th grade. So what are you, 13, 12?
Something like that, yeah.
And been here since. And always claimed Arizona. I love it here. Culture's awesome. The food's great. People are awesome. It's quiet. Every city has their bad parts like Phoenix, but for the most part, I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood. Lots of friends growing up that all different backgrounds, ethnicities, races. Reason why I bring that up is it sets you up. Your childhood 100% sets you up for the rest of your life.
I agree 100%.
And both parents grew up speaking Spanish in the house.
Really?
They're both fluent. Yeah, they served their church missions in Peru.
Got it.
Which is how they met. Growing up where I did, I took 9 years of Spanish. I could read, write, speak fluently at one point. So
what about now?
I can order from Taco Bell.
You can get by?
I love it. We spent sidebar. We spent a week in Puerto Rico, me and the wife, and day 8, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna order in perfect Spanish because it's coming back,
Yeah.
Perfect Spanish in perfect English. The lady's like, what do you want? And I'm like, damn it.
You don't even know.
Yeah, just because, well, no, I said it in perfect Spanish and in perfect English. She's like, what do you want to eat, dude? Just because like their Spanish is so different than like, But anyways, yeah, born and raised in Arizona. Obviously, I work in the firearms industry, have a YouTube channel reviewing guns and gear. That all started at like 4 years old, man. Like, I think I shot a gun for the first time with my dad when I was like 4. And from then, dude, 8 years old, got my first BB gun. And from there, just... it's always been guns.
Love affair?
Oh, dude, 24/7, 365. It's like all I do.
So yes, that was a really great setup for some of the questions I want to ask you.
Cool.
So let's talk about sort of growing up, and you mentioned your parents going on a mission.
Yeah.
And so you grew up in the church.
I did, yeah.
Right? And so how did that impact you as a kid? Like,
Yeah.
And where did that take you as a young man?
Yeah. Grew up in the church, Mormons, or the real name is Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Their nickname's Mormons. Served a full mission and everything. So knocked doors for Jesus for 2 years. But getting back to that, like the church is really big on leadership and church leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It's all volunteer clergy, so everyone donates their time. So like all my youth leaders growing up were like, construction workers, plumbers, blue collar dudes that also had like jobs within the church.
Mm-hmm.
When my parents got divorced right around that 12, 13-year-old age, right? Like pivotal young man, and my dad was around, great father, but a lot of the church leaders stepped up and were like, took me under their wing.
Critical formable years, man.
Oh, dude. Like I'll start crying because one of the guys, Todd, is still to this day like a giant influence in my life. Every major life decision I've made, I run it by Todd.
Mm-hmm.
He's not much older, like 12, 13 years, but just enough to have that wisdom, right? So those church leaders, like, teenage kid, dad's not in the house, you want to get in some trouble. Like, I never did anything crazy, but anytime I'd step out of line too much, they'd show up at the house.
Wow.
Like, hey, man, your mom called us. What's going on here?
Wow.
And like, there's some physical corrections. Nothing too crazy, but just a lot of like, yeah, this is what we do as men. And that set me up the rest of my life, dude. Like those morals, those ethics, man of your word, you're 10 minutes late. Or sorry, if you're on time, you're late. We're 10 minutes early to everything. My wife is the same way. Awesome. And then went on a mission. And
yeah, for people that don't understand what that is, actually, as a young kid, I lived in Ogden, Utah for a while.
Lots of Mormons in Salt Lake, bro.
Yeah, and I was old enough to remember that. And that's what was my first exposure to that, as I had friends who had brothers and sisters or brothers that were going on missions. And so that was very, explained explicitly to me what was going on. But I don't know that a lot of people understand what that is, what it's about, the why.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I went, most guys went at the age of 19. It's 2 years, so you get home at 21, right? Now it's changed. You can go at 18, get home at 20. You basically put it in an application. It's a pretty large packet about your entire life, skills that you have, stuff that you think applies that would be helpful in, serving a mission. And one of mine was Spanish speaking, dude. So I was 100% like, dude, I'm going to South America because they have missionaries all over the world. Right.
That'd be rad.
So here in the States, you have missionaries in every state, but then like I had 3 buddies that got their mission calls or packet at the same time as me.
Okay.
So we had a big, like all the friends and families came over and we opened them at the same time. London, Fiji, Japan, Peoria, Illinois, dude. And there's a Peoria, Arizona.
Yeah, that's right.
So as soon as I said Peoria, there was a gasp.
Yeah.
Because if you stay in your state for your mission,
what is that?
Because you're a little dicey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what does that really say? Yeah.
And so I was like, let me finish, Illinois.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, for the other 3 dudes, people are clapping. Yeah. Gets to me and it's like, sick, dude. And I was like, shit. I was like, man, they might need to like re-talk to God about this because this is not where I'm supposed to go. So I went to Peoria, Illinois, and within like 6 weeks, 100% it's where God wanted me to be.
Needed to be there.
Growing up here, tons of Mormons, man. I mean, to the point where there's a period in school called seminary You leave school for an hour and you go to like Bible class for an hour. And it's part of the curriculum here in Arizona, Utah, Nevada, states with a lot of Mormon population. So going to Illinois, no Mormons, and they all hate Mormons. And so like, you know, growing up in a community that loved you for what you believed, going there, they hate you for what you believe. Dude, at 19, wearing a uniform, right? White shirt, tie. We've all seen them riding bikes.
The thing, yeah.
Grown men would pull their cars over and you're going to hell for what you believe. Like, F you. I mean, grown 40, 50-year-old men spitting on us. I had beer bottles thrown at me. You name it, dude.
Wow.
All for what we believed. So that is a big shocker. And at 19, like, dude, you learned real quick.
Yeah, how'd you handle that?
Dude, there's a night where I was like, I need an answer if this is where I'm supposed to be. Universe, God, whoever it is. Otherwise, dude, I'll get a bus ticket home, man. Like, I'm not about this. And just had some really cool spiritual experiences, man. Like knocking doors, people saying things like, hey, don't really believe in what you guys do, but I've been praying for you. And like, just some real cool, people would say it's the universe. Believers would say it's God. I believe it can be both. Just like some really cool, hey, strong feelings of this is going to suck, but this is where you're supposed to be.
I mean, such an important thing. I mean, at that age, you know, a lot of guys you deal with, and you know, without talking specifically about any of them, but I know and the things that you've done and what you're doing, we can talk a little bit about that. Come across a lot of guys that at that age, they were carted off to other places in the world, much like you were, but they were in much different situations.
Much different.
Having much different conversations about things and seeing things in a much different light. And maybe not having autonomy to make decisions about how they did things, or the opportunity, maybe the space to explore the things that were kind of right in front of your face at the whole time. And so I think that, you know, growing up as a young man, that shit's important, important. And I actually think it speaks a lot to, when we speak about this, we also, if you kind of look at where society is now and the things that young men are and aren't doing or aren't exposed to, and you drop some words in there like morals and ethics, values, and having a foundation in something. I mean, we're just in the spot right now where young men are just so lost.
And hungry for that.
Yeah, and they're looking for leadership, right? Yeah. They're looking for a challenge. They're looking to do something hard, but they have no clue what that is, and they don't have other grown men, you know, that have that wisdom that you mentioned, kind of looking after them. I feel very fortunate at my age that I had those things, you know, over time too, you know, to kind of direct me. I made my mistakes and I had my challenges, but without those, you don't get to where you're at. But that actually makes a lot of sense, you know, hearing you tell that story, just to kind of what I know about you and how I've seen you interact with people and how you've handled business. And I haven't ever talked to anybody, you know, since I've met you, that's like, oh yeah, that Chris Blau, watch out for that guy. You know, not a good dude.
Thank you.
I've never fucking heard that, and I can't ever imagine that. While in the interactions that I do have and the people that I do talk to, I do hear things about other folks. So that's thanks for telling that story.
Yeah,
because it clears up a few things for me that I maybe had a hunch about, but well, that makes sense.
You know, going to a place, having to talk to people that hate you. Like, dude, that set me up at 19 to 21 for the rest of my... Dude, I can talk to anyone. Right. I have been very blessed with the gift of gab. I've been to 59 states now. I've been to 14 countries. I've been all over Asia, Europe, South America. And, like, everyone that travels with me, friends, family, whatever, always like, dude, you can make friends anywhere. And, dude, it's just... I love people. Even if there's combativeness, like, dude, I handled that at a young age.
Right.
And like doing door-to-door sales after that, you can imagine how that set me up.
Right.
I did the same thing, knocking doors, pest control my first summer after my mission.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro,
how many contracts did you sell there? Dude. Yeah, you're just like, were you the lead salesperson for the...
Unfortunately, no. But just knocking doors and rejection is like...
Whatever.
Dude, I'll talk to you. I don't care, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that like people... And again, we say this a lot, but you know, people see you and can move into this kind of what you're doing with the YouTube channel and what you've done on social media. When they see people out there, they always wonder if they're the same person, like in person. And like your prime example of like what you see is what you get. Because I literally, you know, you just you don't care. Like this is who I am. Why would I try to be somebody that I'm not? But you were set up for that, to where you're not having to put on an act to quote unquote sell something or get a message across. It's really coming from, the heart.
Normal dude, man. Yeah. And that was the thing on the mission too. Like, I would always lead with like, hey, this blessed my life. It may not be for you, but we can still be friends, man. Like,
right.
And I also wasn't super straight. I'm going to get some hate for this maybe, or if my dad or mom watches this, they'll be a little disappointed, but not the first time I disappointed them. Won't be last, right? Like, I wasn't a typical missionary. Like, people would talk shit to us, be like, dude, what you believe is shit. And I'd be like, it is more than shit, let me tell you. And they'd be like,
shocked.
I've never had a missionary curse. And I'm like, first time for fucking everything, bro.
Right.
And of course, the missionary next to me would be like,
right.
I'm like, dude, it's...
So, but I got to imagine you could get away with that at some level because of maybe your stature and, whatever. I mean, you're not a small dude.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, you're sort of fresh out of high school.
Coming off steroids.
Yeah, okay.
Dude, I was 6'4", 265. I had like 58-inch shoulders, 34, 36-inch waist. I had to have custom-made suits for the mission. And like, I was with a missionary from Edmonton, Canada. Love Canadians. And Osman, farm boy, doesn't take disrespect, dude. I mean, would fight at the drop of a hat. And so he'd talk shit back to people and be like, the only reason this has never gotten physical is because, and he was like 5'6". He's like, because you're 6'4". Like,
yes, this is such an interesting perspective. That's what, and man, I'm really glad you brought that up. Like, it's still real. Like, people see these guys rolling around on their bikes and in the uniform with the white shirt and the black tie and the name tag and whatever else. Yeah. But the reality of it is they're just human beings, right? They're just dudes.
Dude, they're kids.
Yeah, and that's
they're
a solid
kids.
point. Yeah.
When I see them now, and like I'm not very active in the church. I like tattoos. I like whiskey. Whatever. But missionaries still stop by. I feed them lunch, take them to dinner. Like, dude, they are 19-year-old kids trying their best.
Right.
And like, I don't know, because it's religion, I guess people give them a little bit more hard time. But like, dude, they're simply doing what they believe is right. And like, I mean, I don't agree with my wife on everything. Right. I still love her.
Right.
Like, we can show love and like, hey man, not interested. Thanks. But do you guys need water? You need a Gatorade? It's 150 degrees out here.
Right.
So like, just kids learning. But that set me up literally. There's not a day that goes by I don't thank God for my mission. It's $1 million experience. I would not pay a penny to do again.
I think I get it. Peoria, Illinois, actually been through there. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, actually. It's not
the wife's from there, or Cece's from there.
Yeah, Cece like grew up like from her high school age to college. She actually spent time in a really small town called Newman, Illinois, which is really central Illinois, south of Champaign-Urbana, and it just, there's not a lot out there, man. There's not a lot. We've actually visited it twice and rolled through. The first time we rolled through there, I think I didn't say a word. I was shocked. I think she had like 14 people in her graduating high school class. And you mentioned a few things there just about the challenges that they have and kind of what she dealt with as she's of Asian descent. Nobody out there looked like her. She moved in at a later age, like the 13 or 14 years old. Like, all that going on. And so, but as a result, she came out of, she's independent as hell.
Tough as nails.
She's tough as nails. She's heard a lot of things, been called a lot of things, and she moves on, with her day. But it's also at the same time, that's not someone you want to back into a corner because they've learned a few things.
I'm sure.
I've seen a few things.
I'm sure.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
So getting past that. So that ends up. So let's move in because I have the question and I don't want to skip anything. But we mentioned the YouTube channel at the beginning, and I want to highlight this. So it's the 1911 Syndicate.
Yep.
It's got a very large subscription, and you guys do some really cool stuff. And so I don't want to bastardize this or mess it up. So I'm gonna have you tell the story. Like, what is 1911 Syndicate, and don't leave out any details because I find it to be very interesting.
Cool.
And while you're doing that, actually, before you start, we've got the cigar sitting here. Why haven't we?
My mouth has been watering.
Yeah, why? Take your pick, man. Whatever you want. I just rolled through. It's called Oak Glen Tobacconist, and they're up in this little town, like that grows apples. Basically, is what they do. It's in the east. It's like San Bernardino County area, LA. I had and San Bernardino County outside of LA, coming out of California Range Weekend. Guy invited me to do a podcast on cigars. I was like, he's like, would you be interested? I'm like, would I be interested?
100%.
Yeah, 100% I'm there. So he turned me on to a few things in here. There's a couple of like...
dealer's choice.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting ones that I haven't had. No, you take your pick. And then we had there's a couple there from there. And then while we were at California Range Weekend, we had both Lampert Cigars and Somm sponsor that event. So everybody that was there got some free smokes.
Yeah. I snagged a Padron.
Yeah, and that was all put on by Small Batch Cigars. So for those folks down there, my boy Mike down there at Small Batch Cigar, who kind of, I think, runs the retail end of that huge mail order business. They do a lot of boutique, smaller stuff. Again, Small Batch Cigar.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things in there, but then you got some of your standby. So take your pick, man.
Dude, I feel like you were eyeballing this one, were you?
Yeah, I haven't had it before. Yeah, do it.
No, I mean like right now. Like, am I going to steal what you're going for?
No, go ahead, man.
Okay.
Yeah, enjoy it.
We're going to go for this guy.
Enjoy it. I'm going to take this this Freedom Fighter.
Yeah, so after
the Cigar Society, which is actually their OGT's mail order business. Anyway, plugs for them because they gave me some free stuff and I had a really great time over there.
Solid dudes.
Yeah.
So after the mission, I tried the whole college thing. I was going to go to school to be a neurological physical therapist. That's what my father does. So
interesting.
Physical therapy for heart attacks, strokes, spinal cord injuries, and that's actually what led me to meet my wife. But after, I think I did 6 semesters, I sat down in like math 120. I waited for math at the very end. And I'm not ashamed. No shame in my game. I started college at math 082, which is high school math.
Okay.
Because again, I had a 3-year gap.
Yeah, because you were away.
Yeah. Year before, 6 months before, a yearish after, and 2 years there. So almost 4 years. And like, much like you or like guys that are shooters, military, cops, school is not our thing, bro. Like, you want me to sit in this room?
Generally not.
Bro.
We want to be active.
Dude, I got to be
ADD as fuck.
I got to be doing something. Yeah. I started working construction for those youth leaders at like 13, dude. So like I was outdoors, swinging a hammer, doing the whole 9, right? Go ahead and light up. I hadn't even cut mine.
Okay, man. No rush.
So tried the college thing and it just, not for me, dude. But I went to school for that, was in the process of getting ready to apply to grad school and just like, hey, not about this anymore. So I started getting into the gun business and I just started working behind a regular gun store counter here locally and started going to events like California Range Weekend, but local ones, meeting people. That led to, for my bachelor party, I took a class from Travis Haley Strategic.
Yep.
And I met Jake, who's my partner in the Syndicate.
Got it.
At this class.
What was the class?
So it was a D5 carbine out in Kalinga, California on a naval special warfare range.
Yeah, it's not far from where I live. Yeah.
Probably to this date, one of my favorite ranges I've ever trained on.
Really?
Oh, there's steel from 5 meters to like 1,800. You're in a valley. There's cows in a pasture over here.
How did I get a pass to this place?
So, well, it's a naval special warfare range. So he got like, that's the only time he's done it there. So it was a one and done thing, which met Jake in the parking lot. He got out of his car at the time, California plates with cries on. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, clearly this dude's at the class. And I was like, how you like them 10-round mags, dude?
Oh, well, you're one of those dudes.
Back then. Because I didn't know, I had heard all the internet about how terrible gun stuff was in Cali. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't follow those fucking laws. Right. And walked away. So like the whole weekend I avoided him because I thought I pissed him off. And the last day we ran some drills together. And at a lot of these events, you meet like-minded people and you're like, dude, let's keep in touch. Mm-hmm. You typically never do. For a week or two, maybe a month. And then
occasionally on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right.
So we exchange info. And dude, like, he'd probably call. We'd talk on the phone 2 or 3 times a week. Text all the time. Just developed a really good relationship. A little bit after that, the wife and I sold everything and traveled in a trailer for a year. Sold everything.
Wow.
Just me, her, 2 dogs. And we met up with Jake in California for lunch. So that's the second time I met him. This was like 8 months later. Third time after the trip, I trained canines for 6 years. So I'll get all to the Syndicate, but we need some backstory. I was delivering a service dog to a veteran in Salt Lake and called Jake. And Jake had moved from LA to Salt Lake. I was like, dude, I need a place to crash. And he's like, I'll be gone for the week, but I trust you. We've met twice in person, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, you're clearly a good dude. I'll leave a key for you. Bro, I stayed in his house for a week, met twice, only had this phone relationship and at a class. And so he started the Syndicate right around the same time, which is actually a real estate business.
Okay.
So he's a real estate agent. I'm licensed in Phoenix. And we use the YouTube channel to market to like-minded gun guys. So if you're a gun guy, cop, law enforcement, military, whatever, you kind of believe in Second Amendment rights and you like a real estate agent that aligns with that somewhat, we're your dudes. And so it's a weird roundabout way to do marketing for real estate, but we review guns and gear, man. And then it's like, hey, if you need real estate help, let us know. It seems silly, bro. It works, man. And like,
it doesn't seem silly. I think it's brilliant.
It's very niche. There's a saying, riches are in the niches, right? And I haven't found the riches part, but like
still working on that part.
In the niches, you know.
You're deep in the niches.
Yeah. And our first client ever was a special operations guy, active, still had his, top secret clearance. And the way you do loans for certain guys in that community, it's difficult because they're not paid by like the U.S. government. It could be a shell corporation.
It's coming from somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere.
Right. And me being a nerd about that, Jake loving military gun stuff too. We respect the hell out of that. And then with those guys, you get in good with one of them. Hey, you're buying a house. These are the guys. They know what we do for work. They can work everything, keep anonymity there. They're your guys.
And to be clear, these are guys just trying to buy houses anywhere in the U.S., right? It's not necessarily here in Phoenix or near Phoenix. We're not actually in Phoenix.
Correct.
But like near the, the metropolitan Maricopa County area or whatever else, or whatever, they could be getting it anywhere. And you guys can help them through this process. Find the special programs, the special loans, move things around, get them to get the letters that they need from the right places to manage the process versus going into your local Remax dealer or whatever, and they've got a client list of 100 and you're just another number in the list that doesn't have necessarily the cash down payment, and all that to make all that happen.
Yep. Yeah, you nailed it. And we have affiliates located all over the country. So if we got a dude changing duty stations from, Tennessee to Fort Bragg or whatever, I have dudes on both ends that can facilitate.
Can figure that out. Sell a house and find your house on the other end.
And we cut them a discount and a deal. We try to help them out. It still is a business.
Has to be. But
when I show up, dude, like I've gone from the range straight to show houses in combat pants, dude.
And it's not weird. Yeah.
No. Yeah. And the whole time we talk guns.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, oh, did you like this? And the wife's like, yeah, I want it. And
that's done.
It's cake.
So the wife's happy. We're good. Yeah.
And then we do custom, Forged in Fire, the knife show.
Yeah.
You buy a house from us, you get a custom one-of-one handmade knife from a winner of Forged in Fire.
Oh, dope. That's cool.
And so like
nice little housewarming gift.
Well, the wives are like, well, what do I get? And I'm like, bitch, you got a house.
Just got a house. Just got the house you wanted with no arguments. Yeah.
Homie got a knife. Like, you're good. And of course, like, it's more fun than
it's
that.
It's a thing. But, yeah.
It's all real estate. And that has opened up connections in the industry. Military guys wanting to come on the channel and share their story. We had the project lead for the 416 on the channel. Iconic Mogadishu special operations guy. And we recently had a SEAL who was on the project for the Mark 23, the big HK handgun. He was on that project. He came on the channel. So we get a chance to share epic one-of-one stories no one ever talks about or will hear about. And it's all for real estate.
Yeah. So talk about, I think it's brilliant. Like, and it, I mean, you're providing a service, also a business. It's a needed service, and you're helping people within the military community, law enforcement community, and then the community beyond that. Because my understanding is it's not just these guys.
Correct.
Right? It's anybody. If you're looking for a connection with somebody and it's a business, and at the end of the day, you want to know you're with somebody a good person that's taking care of them, and you want to have some level of control of where that money goes and who benefits by it. Called Syndicate guys.
Not some slick back dude in a BMW. Like those guys have their place and everything.
Yeah, you're rolling up in the pickup truck with the cries on, with dust and dirt on you from the range you just came from.
Yeah. And like
that's awesome.
That knocks down doors tremendously. Because like, bro, like I drive a Tundra. I'm not a flashy guy. Like we all hate real estate agents, man. Let's be real.
I have to be honest. Like I have a deep disdain. Level of aversion to real estate agents. My own experiences.
Of course.
Buying and selling homes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a fun way to do it. It's low stress. We're also very good at it. Like Jake was like, hey, it might be a weird way to do this, but we're we're going to be like good at this. And like the few deals I've done, I got in at, 2020 when it was crazy. If you didn't have an established real estate business though, like it was still slow for you and you're getting outbid by cash offers.
Right. All the time. Yeah.
So the few deals I've done, like, one of them, they walked into the house with 30 grand in equity the day they bought it. Cause like we negotiated price, worked it out. And, we do our best to make it happen. So
let's talk about the channel, right? And what's actually going on there, because this, gun reviews, this is not a new thing. It's been around for a while, but there's some things that, people may not understand about it and kind of how it all works.
Yeah.
I had asked you some questions before and I was like, hey, time this out. Let's talk about it. Like when we do this podcast finally. But, from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, dude, these companies send all this cool shit to these guys and they get to shoot it and have fun and dick off with it and have a conversation about it, put together some videos. And that's the thing. I mean, you just linked in the why and how this came up with regard to the real estate end of things. Mm-hmm. But how does this all work, man? Like, how did that get started, right? Like, and as compared to where it is now, because it hasn't been a long time.
Yeah.
But you guys have a huge subscription in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's continued to evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, again, like how it actually started to where it is now and what you see happening in the future.
Yeah, when it started, so even to this day, we self-fund about 90% of it. And that's because, let's take the Springfield Echelon, for example. I just reviewed that gun. I bought it with all my own money, man. And this is not a cocky thing, but we've built up some reputation to where I could have called and got that. We do that strategically in certain ways, but I bought this gun because I wanted to be able to just say whatever I wanted about it. I full on was going into that to shit on that gun. And so like I was like, dude, I'm going to pay my own money. That way no one can say like, well, that was given to you, so like you're biased, because we do get that, and I do understand part of that. But it started off with us self-funding everything. So like I've dumped every penny I've had in savings, man, everything into this channel
to maintain a level of integrity.
Integrity, man, because a big reason we started this too is, I've been in the community for 12 years, man, way before the YouTube stuff, training, working in the industry behind gun counters, the whole nine. I think I've been to SHOT Show this year is like number 10 for me.
Wow.
Like I've, done the whole thing before all this. And I was really tired of YouTubers or influencers, which is a newer term. Back then it wasn't. Selling a product, saying it's good with some sort of background to validate that. You spend your hard-earned money and it's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And so Jake and I were both like, we will not compromise on this. Like integrity above anything else, morals and ethics, right? Because people are spending their hard-earned money, dude.
Right.
You're buying, let's just say $100 whatever. Dude, if you're making $10-15 an hour,
it's a lot of money.
You just worked an entire day and a half to buy one product, right? Dude, I take that serious, man. Like people are out here working hard for every dollar, especially nowadays with the economy. So that's kind of why we self-funded stuff to keep the integrity there. And then when we did start getting sent products, say a rifle, for example, it's very clear. We will be able to say whatever we want about this. Is there a problem with it? For the most part, people say no. But there are companies that don't work with us because of that. Which to me then is an integrity issue. You're not believing in your product to the point where some guy can't say whatever the hell he wants about it.
They want a quote unquote good review. They want to control that.
Mm-hmm. And we're not looking to bankrupt companies either. Like we've had some reviews where the product just didn't run. Very few. And we were like, hey, we'll give you a chance to fix it. Hey, we'll give you a chance to fix it. This will all still be in the video. We're going to explain all this, but we can still do it. And like...
They've just chosen not to address the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we finish the video and then, however it shakes out for their business and stuff. Cool. But because of that integrity, and from day one, we've kept it that way, we have something called buying power. So this is Jake tracks metrics pretty hard on stuff, but basically our audience trusts us so much to spend their dollar that we can move the needle for companies. And not in a cocky way, but because we've built this following, hey, they're going to be honest. This is their experience. They're very open with it. And that leads to a viewership that like the sling company that sponsors us, we sell more slings for them than like any of their other channels that they sponsor that have double our viewership.
So I think this is important for people to understand how this works, and that's why I wanted you to walk through it, because the podcast has only just begun to do this, and I've tried to be very careful about the people we partner with and how we do things and where we put things.
Yeah.
And this is not something you just walk into, and this is the pitfall that I think I'm going to say the majority of reviewers, quote unquote influencers, wind up with is a company sees an advantage here. You've got a following, right? You've got an audience that we want to leverage. So we'll send you free shit, or we'll even give you some money or whatever. And they, that person that's been working really hard to build their following, their subscription level, whatever it happens to be, falls victim to I'm getting a payday. I'm going to do this, only to come out the other side having compromised their integrity and recognizing what they've done. And as my good friend Joe Dawson would say, no amount of toothpaste can wash the taste of that dick out of your mouth once you've done that. And so they've married themselves to something now that they have to either stand behind or walk back on, neither which at that point did they ever see themselves having to do. And then you start to see what happens when a person gets squeezed, and the things they will say, the things that they will do. And I don't know who said this to me, but it's interesting to watch the shit that comes out when people get squeezed. All because, and I'm not even going to say it was greed. I'm just going to say it's maybe a lack of awareness of how this works. And so you see people out there, maybe when you're doing reviews, and I'm sure you get these comments, yeah, you guys are just saying that because you get paid. You got a free gun and whatever else. And while there is some truth to this may not have cost me anything, whatever that gun may have cost is not worth sacrificing the integrity for. And you're always going to get those trolls and whatever, but you talked about the term buying power and being able to move the needle for a company. And so when you choose to partner with a company that they know you can do that for them, and you know you can do that for them, you have to be really, really careful about this. Yep. And the metrics and how they're tracked are a thing. And so in order to get to that point of having metrics that make sense to where you can leverage them and it becomes a mutually beneficial prospect, business dealing, you have to work really hard at doing that over a long period of time. And you can't have fallen into this pitfall over here where, again, you did the thing that you can't wash the taste out of your mouth from. Yeah. So sorry, I just want to jump in there because I don't think people really understand. A lot of people don't really understand that. They just want to take shots across the bow at things because
that's the easy route.
It's fucking easy. And they just don't understand it. They just don't know. They just don't know. So you got this leverage now where you go back to the slings and, in terms of, do they share that stuff with you?
Yeah. So
because that's part of the contract and the agreement.
That's another thing we do a little differently is we do 99.9, and we'll get shit on for this. 99.9% of what we do is handshake deals, man.
Okay, so I want to talk about that.
Yeah, and that has come back like everything that's a handshake deal. There's been stuff where it hasn't worked out. However, Jake and I, unless it's a giant project and we're talking, some hardcore stuff. But if I'm getting your product from the first phone call, it is a handshake deal. Hey, we're men of integrity. We feel that's been lost in the world as well as the gun industry. This is what we're going to bring to the table. We lay it out for them. We have a media kit that we send them that has the analytics and, what to expect. There's no guarantees.
Same.
But we have these numbers, and we have trusted companies we've worked with that allow us to use those numbers and use their name also. We always clear that first. And we're like, these companies have seen this. Again, this is never a guarantee, but we can see this, right? And so I believe it's the right way to do it. Of course, I would say that with it being this way, but also I've been burned in the fact that some of these influencers or guys get sent product and don't do anything with it. Or they make a 10-second clip and that's it.
Or they sell it and they're making money on it.
Yeah, they'll get the product for free, flip it out the back.
Right.
Tons of stuff like that, which then ruins it for other people.
So I think going back, I think at the beginning, the handshake deal is all you have. I mean, that's how businesses get generally started. I'm brand new at this. I know I don't have a resume to show you or a list of Google reviews from my 100 previous clients that are all happy, giving me 5-star reviews. whatever the case, because you're brand new. It's like,
Mhm.
where do you get experience unless you get experience kind of thing. So I think a lot of this starts with that, and it should, and it needs to. It's the things that happen in between that where you fucked yourself. But
Yes.
after, again, like I just mentioned, but over a certain amount of time, then you've moved to this next level where the handshake deal just can't be the handshake deal. I'm still going to shake your hand. We're going to have this conversation, but at the same time, this isn't a bro conversation. This is a professional conversation. This is a business. You understand that. I understand that. And let's put a set of expectations together.
Yep.
Here's the scope of work. Here's what you're getting from me. This is what you're not getting from me, because we've had this question before. If you want more, happy to try to provide that, but that will need to be worked in and renegotiated and things like that. And again, this is what gets lost, and I believe this is a huge part of why the shooting industry or the gun industry, gear industry is as fucking ridiculous as it is, because there's been too many of these handshake deals and lies being told, right? And bro conversations and people being taken advantage of on either end of that thing. And at the end, the person that fucking ends up taking it the most is the consumer. Especially the new consumer who doesn't know, who's looking to spend their hard-earned dollars on something and looking for good information, and winds up getting a $500 piece of shit, which has been a $500 mistake, right?
Yes.
How many of those can they make before they're bitter, and now they're just another dude in the comments section based on one experience, talk shit about 1911 Syndicate and all the things that they must be doing wrong, and you've been included into this whole category. I'm rambling, and I'm sorry, but that's one of the things I wanted to uncover with you, so people kind of look like, if you're doing this and you're thinking about doing this, there is a method, there is a framework to this. And it starts maybe with some handshake deals, and you might have to eat it for a little while. It's going to cost you money to do this. How long?
It should.
It should. It's
There's
an investment.
a barrier for entry, brother. Like, I'm really big on barrier for entry, and that could be anything. It could be monetary, it could be time, it could be whatever. But the gun industry in general has no barrier for entry. You could be, you have shit bags in any industry.
Sure.
Right? But you could be anyone, me included. I got a job at a gun counter. Started making connections with the Glock rep, the SIG rep, these guys, seeing them at other events, going out of my way and paying my own money to go to events just because I'm passionate about it. No barrier for entry for that. I just had to show up, dude.
Right.
And so
nobody owed you anything.
No. Right. And that's why we self-funded the channel up to this point, is the whole, if you build it, they will come. And now companies approach us like, dude, we've seen what you guys do. We like your style. What can we do to work with you? So then it goes to the other side of it. Jake is one of my best friends, a business mentor. My life is where it is because of Jake. He's also a psychopath. And he knows this. And
we all have our things.
Dude, he's, he had like two options in life, to be a serial killer or a businessman. He chose businessman.
So how fortunate for both of you and all those innocent, unaware people out there.
But so if we do a handshake deal, let's take HK, for example. HK doesn't work with a lot of YouTubers, man. And like, they approached us a year and change ago, and we're like, we want to work with you because of what you guys do. So then we do the front end work. When we work with someone, there is multiple phone calls, multiple emails, text messages, the whole nine. A project like HK,
there's got to be like a legal department. There's probably a PR department. Is that where you're going with this?
No, Jake then does the front end work, and you get sent an itinerary hour by hour of what the film day will look like. And you think I'm joking? I mean, we did this with HK, 4-day project. They had an hour. No one ever had to guess. What are we doing next? Day 2 at 4 p.m. We break for dinner for 15 minutes, and then we're filming until 1 a.m. And it's broken down. Because then if it's still a handshake deal, this clearly shows they have put in the work. And then it's our job then to
deliver,
show up.
Yeah, deliver.
Know? And our camera guy, like, we've had him kind of from day one for the most part. Like 24-year-old skater, hippie kid, crispy. He's awesome.
This is how a business gets run. Yeah.
And he puts out, dude. And there's been times that HK shoot at the end of it, he was limping. We had slept for 4 hours every night for a week. We're in the heat, the whole nine, and that's a lot for a young kid, dude. Yeah. Like it is.
What a great experience, though.
And like, Crispy's awesome, dude. He's like risen above and beyond. He's grown as like a human and as a creator, and like, I'm not saying that's all us. He's a phenomenal dude, but like, much like when I was working with all the construction dudes, you know, like, hey, we said 4:30 start time. You're here at 4:30. I'm like, yeah. They're like, no, bro. It's 4:15, 4:20. Like 10, 15 minutes early. You know, and like seeing that young and seeing that like in our own business and how that translates, dude, it just, integrity is everything. Be a man of your word. Do the right thing when people aren't looking, and like put it out 100%, man. Like,
so how has that worked out for you right now? Like from the start to kind of where we are now with, or where you are now with 1911 Syndicate, like where is that? Is there profit in this business? Is it breaking even? Like, where are we? I mean, I'm not asking you to share financials, but like in the plan and in the journey to get to where you guys are trying to go here, is what's happening?
Yeah, so like year 1, 2, and most of 3, spending all my own money.
You're in red. You're in the red.
Yeah.
That's how most small businesses operate, man.
As they should.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a barrier for fucking entry, dude, in everything in life. Right. And so this last year, we've made a concerted effort to now, hey, we feel we've built a good library of work. We have reputable companies, B&T, HK, Langdon Tactical, you know, all these other companies that will vouch for us. It's time to start breaking even at least.
Yeah, right.
And so this year, Jake's really put a concerted effort into that by getting channel sponsors, Patreon. We worked really hard on monetizing the channel. Gun content's very hard to monetize on YouTube.
We have to talk about this so people understand it. Yes, please go on. Yeah.
So long and the short of it is you're able to do it and other guys do it very well. But there's a lot of rules you have to follow. And for the first like 3 years, Jake and I were like, we're doing our own thing. Fuck those rules. Which is okay.
Yeah.
Like I think every business should be like, no, we're doing it different. Right. You know?
Do it different.
And
there's still rules, man.
There's sometimes it's smart to figure out how to play within those rules so you can keep doing it, dude.
Exactly.
Like, bro, I mean, if we don't start making some money here, like I got like a year left. Like it's just so financially taxing,
right?
You know, I still work a full-time job outside of that too. So monetization, like you aren't supposed to curse or use certain curse words within the first minute. For a little while there, this is just an example. You weren't allowed to do magazine changes or attach a suppressor because that was gunsmithing. We all know this not to be true, guys. The people that run the YouTube gun side of YouTube, from my understanding, are based in India.
Yeah, man.
So there's a context and cultural change there, right? That they just won't get, you know? And then to be able to monetize it, that's when they can run ads on your channel.
Right.
And you get AdSense from that. So like this year, probably 3 or 4 months ago, I started getting my first paycheck from YouTube. And like the first one was like $20, bro. And I was like...
All that work?
No, the opposite. I'm like, babe,
we made some money.
I can go to Taco Bell tonight, bro.
Let's pay for my lunch.
Yeah. And
that 4-hour shoot, you know, that 400 hours of shooting and travel and all that stuff. Yep. Let's go get some lunch. Let's go get coffee.
and it's slowly gone up, and we hope it continues to increase. But again, we've done it in the right way, I believe. But that's also why we do the real estate stuff. That funds the channel. I still work a full-time job to cover all my other bills. Like it's been a little tough, but it's just starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, start getting some money coming in. And look, dude, like the gun industry is not somewhere you work to make money. Like, dude, I don't need a Porsche. I don't need a Lambo. I don't need any of that shit. Like, let me pay my bills, buy a gun here or there. I'm pretty content.
Go out and shoot them.
Yeah, like it doesn't take a lot for me, but it is slowly growing and we're starting to make some money and it's awesome because I see some other creators and know what they're making. And I'm like, yeah, we did it wrong, I think. But I'd rather sleep at night knowing I felt I did it right, the moral and ethical way than anything else.
Yeah.
So like pay is going to come and it comes in many different forms now. And we just started working with manufacturers and stuff to, hey, we're going to keep the product. And then, you know, this is production cost. Can you throw some cash towards ammo? You know, can you throw we need this many rounds? Or like, they're working with us now. And most companies are like, wow, you guys could ask a lot more from us.
That's the question you want.
That's what I want to hear.
Right, cool, that I could charge you more. Well, no thanks. We're good.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, you know, in the future on another project, let's revisit that. But for this project, if you guys are comfortable with, you know, we get to keep this product and 1,000 rounds of ammo or however that shakes out, you know, it's different.
There's different ways to do a deal.
Yeah. And it's worked out, man. It's put trust in manufacturers because they're like, hey, these dudes deliver on what they say. We got X amount of still photos. We got a dedicated 30 to 40 minute video. We're doing long form stuff now too. So we just dropped a video with HK that was an hour and 10 minutes.
Really?
And we were like, dude, no one's going to watch this. And it actually performed pretty good because there was a lot of history in there that like the hardcore gun guys want to know about.
I think that's an important thing. I think people could do a better job with that instead of just, the 15-minute gun review. Yeah.
And so we kind of this year too separate a little bit. Jake is very creative and likes the over-the-top theatrics and music. I mean, when he plans this stuff out, he's like Steven Spielberg, dude. And he wanted to work in Hollywood originally.
The whole storyboard and all the things, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I look at his notes. It's like a beautiful mind, dude. Like he's a savage with it. I do more, because this is just what I enjoy, the down and dirty, gritty reviews. Like the Echelon, I shot the heck out of that gun. There's nothing crazy theatrical about it. It's a straight up, this is my experience. This is how it ran, So there's kind of two sides to the channel, and that's kind of evolved on its own over the last year and a half. And then Jake and I, like 2 weeks ago, were like, hey, do you notice this trend? And he's like, yeah, let's just keep at it.
Let's just try to keep doing it. Yeah, with the YouTube stuff, we're really playing the long play. It's a long play. It's not something that
it's not like back in the day.
No. I mean, if you started your channel 10 years ago, much different.
Very different.
The pond of fish is much, much smaller, right? The pond maybe being the same size, but you get attention or favored by YouTube in whatever way. And other people don't understand also, like you mentioned the monetization thing, like one of the hardest things to monetize is gun stuff, right? Anything with regard to firearms. Actually, tobacco's another one, right?
Would make sense, I guess.
Tobacco's another one for a lot of the same reasons. And people are constantly trying to figure it out. But what's really frustrating also is you mentioned, like, there are rules.
Yeah.
There are things that if you're going to play in this game, you're choosing to play the game. And to sit around and gripe and bitch and moan about the thing all the time and not make the necessary adjustments in order to continue to play the game for the long term, well, that's a choice you've got to make. And if you've done that, well, then you've made your bed and you have to sleep in it. I'm not saying you can't complain about it. I'm just saying, like, what did you reasonably expect? It's also not just about, well, I'm going to go out and shoot a cool video that I think is cool, my buddies think are cool, and I'm going to throw it up there and it's going to do well. You have to study it. There is a game here. Things constantly change. And again, going back to the frustrating part, like all of a sudden you're looking at, like, well, my shit's not being monetized, but I look at this other gun tuber who's got 3 million subscribers, and he can seemingly put up whatever the hell he wants. And by the way, if you do your homework, you can actually go see who's monetizing and who isn't.
Correct.
Right? So you can study this stuff. Anybody can do that.
Open source.
It's open source information. So when you look at some of these guys and you're going, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
These guys are taking big paychecks from YouTube on a monthly basis.
Big
and
paychecks.
It's not being, and again, seems to be no restriction there.
Yeah.
What the hell? It's simple economics, guys. They've got 3 million followers. Keep working. Do the work to get to the 3 million followers. Yeah, but he didn't have to work so hard because, he started his shit 10 years ago and whatever else, and it's a different game. It's a different game. It's evolved. Like, I choose not to watch the NFL anymore. I can't. I can't.
I'm not a sports guy.
I'm saying me. Yeah, I was for a long, long time. I really enjoyed watching the NFL. Bro, the way they've changed those rules and the way they've bastardized that game to favor the offense, to favor the betting, to favor the fantasy football, to put people in the seats, right? Because they need high-scoring games and all this kind of stuff, and they're trying to, quote-unquote, protect the safety of the players, which is total horseshit. I can't watch it anymore. It makes it tough for me to watch because I feel like they've taken some of the integrity and the pureness out of the game purely for money. Now, that's my choice. I choose not to watch it anymore. Like, players could choose not to play it anymore if they didn't want to, but at the end of the day, you're choosing to play in that game, and it will continue to evolve. And I believe the NFL continues to just get worse. If in my mind, that's just my personal opinion. You know, whatever. But I think it continues to get worse, and if you want to play that game and you continue to do the same things, understand, and you're going to evolve. Understand, there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to make choices. Yeah. And the choice that you make could make or break what you do. But stop comparing other people. Yeah. You got to do your own fucking thing. Like, that game of comparison is an evil bitch.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
1,000%. And your money if you're not, if you want to just go into it being bitter all the time.
Yeah.
So That's a really good explanation, right?
Yeah.
Of kind of looking at it, because I think a lot of people see this stuff and they don't really understand how it works. They make a lot of assumptions, and there's again, say it all the time. There's so much fucking anger and hate and juvenile junior high bullshit in this industry. People talking shit about people, but there's a lot of people that are working really hard and really trying to do it in an honest way. There is no formula for success in this.
Correct.
And while there may be some framework to it, there's no formula. And if you think you found it, just wait 5 minutes, because it's going to change.
Yeah.
So you have to stay on top of stuff. So I say all that to say, I really respect what you guys have done and how you've done it. And along the way, you've maintained, like, you're having fun with it. And it hasn't gotten ridiculous, which I think like a lot of people need to do. You guys are the same guys, right? And you're doing the same stuff. There's a little twist here. And like you said, like, you have an idea, or you see this trend. Oh, we're going to run with this for as long as we need to, or feel like it's working, or respect our audience and our, and those, whoever our sponsors are and whoever we're working with, but it's going to change. Yeah. So don't expect it to stay the same, right, all the time. And maybe ask yourself the question, if you're a viewer out there, and you see something you don't like, or it's I don't know, it's not making sense to you. Ask the question a little deeper and think about it. Like, these guys are smart. Like, I just heard you go through the whole thing. This is very measured and calculated.
Yeah.
Why are they doing what they're doing? And how does that serve the greater purpose of, here's the mission we're trying to serve. It is a business at the end of the day. It's a fucking business. There's a real estate business attached to this. There are certain things you maybe can and can't do in order to support that, right? Like, there's all this stuff. People these basic bitches try to boil it down to something that's very black and white without understanding any of the gray or the nuance that goes into that. Yeah. It's
black
simple.
And white's so easy, dude.
Simple. Yeah. It's simple.
And there's another good saying. I love quotes like that, right? Like, comparison is the thief of joy, never assume, because that makes an ass out of you and me, right? ASSUME, right? Another one is like, criticism is often just masked envy and jealousy. Yeah. And like, dude, are you kidding me? When I was back in the day and I was watching Grand Thumb do all this stuff, I'm like, why can't I do that? Right. But also, at that time, I was still shooting belt feds. I was shooting MP7s. I was doing all this cool stuff, because that's just the community I was in, right?
Right.
And I still find myself, when I see other creators doing something, I'm like, man, what is he going to do? It's human nature. I was like, man, why does he get to do that? And then I'm like, whoa, you ungrateful bitch.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you were just in Switzerland working with B&T in the Swiss Alps for a week. Like, what do I?
Right.
And it's just human nature, but it's checking that. And then also, I'll go a little bit long here, but how many negative comments have you ever left on a YouTube?
0.
You know how many I've left? 0.
0. Never, not one time.
You want to know why? No one forces me to watch that.
Right.
And there's 40 billion other videos. I'll just click the next one, dude.
Right.
And so I then think of people that are haters or trolls. Coming from a place of compassion, I understand that maybe their life isn't awesome. They're in a job they're not happy with, and this is their time to like vent that. And I believe that's about 99% of it. Because we also famously, we get a lot of love for this. We troll back the trolls. We have a whole segment called Troll the Troll. And like, dude, you're going to post on YouTube a hateful comment. Like, I'm going to post my response. And usually it's like, you guys don't know how to shoot this, and that. And I'm like, dude, I never claimed I knew how to shoot.
Right.
But the Whopper I had this morning was delicious. Like, so off topic.
Right.
And then some of these guys will go back and forth. And one guy, I was like, bro, you'd never say this to my face.
Right.
And he was like, no, because you'd probably kick my ass. And I was like, no, because I'm a really nice dude.
Right.
And I promise you, we'd get along great in person. So like, why are you acting this way? And 9 times out of 10, I get a personal DM. Hey, man, that was me. I apologize for my behavior.
Right.
I'm in a bad spot. And I'm like, hey, dude, totally cool. But let's just think about this, bro. Like, do you not have anything else you could be doing?
It never ceases to amaze me that somebody will be scrolling along and then take time, the amount of time out of their day, first off, just to leave something nasty. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you see this. And you felt so compelled to take time to come. You're somebody I don't know. You don't follow me, so it's not like I can say unfollow or whatever else. But you're just like, you just want to let me know what a dick you think I am or what an idiot you think I am. Cool, bro. Like, first off, you've clearly mistaken me for somebody that actually gives a fuck, because I don't.
No.
But at the same time, like, my level, going back to that, like my level of tolerance when I first started this was very low. Like I think we all did. Like
Absolutely.
you start to fire back, like, because you take it personally. Like everybody's like that. Like,
well, how hard are you working at this?
well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, look, if you don't like what I put out, there was time and effort put into that. And I'm not saying everybody's I never expected everybody to like it, right? And everybody to get on board with
That's
it.
stupid.
And I've taken, like, but my level of tolerance for that was like when they're making stupid comments, like feeling like you have to fire back. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right. And just falling into that trap. So my level of tolerance has gotten very, very high for it. Like, I'm just whatever. I just don't respond. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll post something and it just goes on and on and on and on. And I'm just like, wow, man, look at how sensitive, right? And how fragile and how frustrated and angry and emotional people get about the simplest thing, like a word that got used, a term, like a
silencer versus suppressor.
Oh, the word operator got used in a dude. It went on for fucking ever, and I was just like, this is how you spend your time. That's so going back to tolerance. Like, okay, man, whatever. I just move on. But my compassion level, you're a better man than me. It's just gone way low. Like, I don't feel bad for you, man. Like, I can't. Like, I hope things get better for you. Hard stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
hard stop.
This dude, well, here's the silver lining to that. The more haters you get, the more engagement gets boosted.
Yeah, I've said that before too. Yeah, like, thanks for driving the algorithm.
And homie. I tell that to dudes, if we're going back and forth and I don't do this that much anymore. There's nights, Friday nights, maybe I'm drinking a little bit. But like, I'm sitting in...
It's interesting. That's when I see the most of them come through. It's either Friday afternoon or Saturday night. Like, I'm like, dude, how about put the whiskey down, walk away, and go to bed?
Well, I make it fun because I'm a night owl. I stay up till 2 every night, dude. And I'm usually in my hot tub, which is off screen here, but... So I'll just be in there having fun, dude. Because we get in and we engage with followers a ton, like probably too much. But we're about building community too.
Yeah.
And this one dude, I finally, after like, no matter what you say to some of these guys too, you will always be wrong, right? And that's okay.
Yeah, because they have to be right.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, I don't care. I said in this video that I didn't know how to shoot long range. That's why we're doing the fucking video.
Yeah, this is the journey, man.
Bro, the journey.
Yeah.
And I finally told this guy, like, hey, man, I genuinely feel really bad for you. And, like, whatever you're going through in life that makes you act this way, I hope it gets better. I genuinely will be praying for you. And, like, that, most of the time, you never get a message back.
We're done. Yeah.
And that is my genuine feeling, dude. Like this one dude specifically on Joe Dawson stuff, he has a hard on for Joe.
I did get into some of this stuff. Yeah.
And I finally told that dude, like, look, I've admitted to everything you've accused me of. I don't know long range. I suck at shooting. I'm a terrible human being and I'm fat.
What else?
But like, I've never said that to a stranger.
I never would.
I hope that life turns around for you, brother. Yeah. And like, I genuinely feel that way. Because like, again, it's jealousy, bro. Masked as criticism.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's such an interesting space, and especially, again, just going back to how hard you're working on it. That's why I wanted you to walk through that, for those people that because
let's break that down a little bit too, just real quick. So we film in Utah. I live in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I was just going to go into the other costs that go into building this, but you're jumping right in. Go right ahead.
So I fly up to Utah once a month for about 4 days, 5 days, depending on the project, to film. Luckily, the airport I fly out of is 5 minutes from my house. It's a municipal airport.
Super convenient.
It's like $150 round trip. And I've done the same flight every month for 4 years. And it's the same crew. So when I walk in now, I don't mean this cocky at all, but like, they're like, Chris, what did you bring us today? Dude, I'll be in back, opening my Pelican, pulling out a Scar Heavy, body armor, night vision. And like, the TSA people love it, dude. Like, to the point where it feels fake because a lot of people have bad experiences with TSA.
Right. Yeah, we've had this conversation before. Yeah.
But my other job, I fly all over the country for.
Right.
And I still have great experiences because, dude, people are curious, and then they're also like, "Why did this guy just show up like he's going to war?"
Right.
And I just like deflate it all. I'm like, all this shit, believe it or not, is for real estate. And people are like, "What?" And I'm like, I'm a real estate agent. And they're like, fuck out of here, dude. Yeah. And this one lady, Karen, her name is Karen. She's very nice. After 4 years of doing this flight, she finally worked up the courage. Like, we have a bet going. What do you do for a living?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'm a real estate agent. She's like, yeah, we knew you're in the CIA because that's what someone would say. I'm like, no, they would actually probably tell you this. But shit, I just dug myself a hole.
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm like, I'm not, I promise. And like, it's a funny thing. But long story short, so the flights, that's cost. Time away from my wife, who is everything to me. My house, my hot tub, which is wife and then hot tub right now, dude.
In that order?
Yeah. And then it's dogs.
And then dogs, yeah. That's a solid priority list.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's 4 or 5 days. I can't work my other job to make money, right? So like there is some cost associated with this that would
sacrifice, yeah.
We pay a videographer. We used to have a still photographer on set also doing stills. Parted ways amicably. He just went on to different things.
This happens. This is how business works. Yeah.
That's one thing too, is we never hold anyone hostage. Like if you don't want to be here and put out 100%, you're not you're not held hostage, brother. So anyways, there's that. We pay for production. Think of if we're traveling to HK, right? There's hotels, there's food. There is a ginormous cost associated with this. So like, and then let's talk about time. I'm not creative and I can barely read and write. So like when I write a video, it probably takes me longer than your average dude. But I get obsessive over it. I want to make sure all the details are right. And guess what? I still make mistakes. And that's what people always point out. Like,
the mistake.
Well, you said this and it's this. And I'm like,
you're right.
There's a 60-minute video. And that's what you got?
Right.
A recent one with HK where you're reviewing their new SDMR 308 battle rifle. In one scene, the optic mount is loose. Of course, we caught it in that scene and fixed it. The rest of the video is fine.
But did you address it in the video?
We didn't, because we didn't know until post-production.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? And so all these people were like, at minute 206, optic mount, you guys are fucking idiots. And it's like, dude, we have flown cross-country for this. This is third day of film until 1 a.m. Like, mistakes happen.
Oh, go out to the range and shoot your fucking guns. This stuff happens all the time.
That, and like, people are like, you guys talk about how much your production is and you still make mistakes. Hollywood videos, hundreds of $1 million budget. There's still mistakes, bro.
Right, 100%. Yeah.
Like humans make mistakes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cost.
There's so little tolerance in any of that, but yeah, with so little understanding of the process.
And grace.
Yeah.
Because I promise that dude makes mistakes in his life.
Oh, really?
Oh,
weird.
Shocking.
Weird.
Yeah. And again, when you look at the whole
picture. You mean the guy behind the meme page?
Yeah.
Right.
When you look at the whole picture, Jake and Chris flew across the country for this, and that. Stuff is going to fall through the cracks. Yeah. However, Jake is such a psychopath. Get this. We have never forgotten one piece of anything on any shoot. Wow. Not a stapler.
That's impossible. I don't believe you.
He's a psychopath.
I don't believe you at all,
and it's something that's on his belt. He's like, hey, if you guys remember, we've never forgot one piece of gear. Not one. He's a psycho. And he is the only reason this works, because I am clearly a hot mess, dude. And he's just squared away. But yeah, there's a lot of cost and a lot of sacrifice. And also, people that are haters that don't know that, I believe firmly, they don't deserve to know that, bro.
Right.
I went through that.
Yeah.
My close friends and now people on this know the struggle. You know, my best friend, when I show up crying on his door because like shit is going south in my life, even though it looks great on camera,
right? Life
still happens, bro.
Yeah, I think that's a big missed point, that these are human beings with human problems and human things. Yeah.
I've called you before.
Yeah, and I've done the same.
Hey, brother, I'm in a bad way.
Right.
Let me figure this out. You know,
I just need to chat about this for a second.
Yeah, and I'm so overly positive and like happy that it's hard to imagine that. But like, we all have bad days, man. Right. And like, life for the last 6 months has like kicked me in the dick every turn. And like,
these things happen. This is life.
In the moment, you're like, woe is me and this. And I for sure get to that place. But then I remember like, bro, next week you're going to do this thing. Hey, you have people that love you, that like, you know, I've never had to worry about clean drinking water once in my life. And I've traveled many third world countries, dude. Like, we're so fortunate here. It doesn't make your problems not any less, but like, everyone goes through it, man.
Yeah, and I think this comes back to the time commitment and why, and I say this all the time, and I think people just say, oh, that's just, you know, that's what you should say or what you would say anyway. Like, I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate that people will even sit down with me and have these conversations, because I am taking time out of your life, right? With all the things going on. How many times before we sat down today did you get kicked in the dick, right?
Yeah.
How many things do you have to do after today, right? To take care of your house, to take your wife, your house, your dogs, right? Your business and all the things. Like, the trash still needs to be taken out, right?
Yeah.
The oil still needs to be changed in the truck, right? You still got to put food on the table, all that stuff. And maybe those folks out there that don't understand it when they look at it, like I get this God in this, dude, you're just living your best life.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what I am? It's the best life that I can make for me.
That I broke my dick off to make.
Yeah, given the circumstances that I have. But make no mistake about it, like it isn't all, a bowl of fucking cherries.
Yeah.
Like I argue with my better half, right? I have financial issues, that I'm always trying to kind of manage or whatever. I am not an expert in this. I'm simply documenting my journey. If you want to take shots about how I don't know something or how I'm talking, or I'm asking a dumb question or whatever else, it's my fucking question. If you don't like it, move on.
Click, bro.
Move the fuck on.
Click.
So I don't want to make this all negative. The upside to it is all the positiveness that comes out of it and the relationships that get built. And not everybody's like that. Because there's people listening to this right now. They're like, yeah, it's just dumb. I listen because I'm curious to hear about the conversation. And I don't get to, again, people don't, that was my thing. Like I recognized that other people didn't get, for however it happened, I wound up in the same room with whoever it is. And today it's Chris Blau, right? And there are people out there that would kill to be sitting on this couch right now having any kind of a conversation about you, to learn about how to build their YouTube channel. No, I'm telling you, like it's true. You just don't hear those people out there because they're not saying that publicly in the comments sections.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But they are thinking that. And, that was my thing. I was like, look, these are really important conversations for me. I think other people would find this important as well. Let's put it out there and see what happens. And again,
thank you.
The analytics that you get for the things that you do are very limited, right? We talked about some specific ones in terms of, what's downloads, subscriptions, what's monetized, what isn't, and whatever. But all of that human stuff gets lost in the process. Anyway, I don't want to. I think we should probably move on from that and kind of talk about a few things, because you mentioned a couple things. You were talking about the mission, then you talked about other things that you've done that have prepared you. And one of the things I didn't know about you, and this is kind of a hard turn here, but you worked with canines for a long time.
Yeah.
How did that happen, man? Did you just walk into that, or what happened?
Simplifying it, definitely. Wife and I, still dating at the time, bought our first house on a Monday, right? Tuesday morning, she wakes up and she's like, you get a house, you get a dog. And I grew up with dogs, and I'll go on record saying this. I strongly disliked, if not hated, dogs because ours were misbehaved, would break out of the yard. I'm the only boy, so I'd spend all day running, trying to chase them,
cleaning up after it.
No manners, just a nightmare.
Right.
And so I'm like, you have known, I've been very clear, I'm not a dog person. And she's like, too bad. Well, as we all learn, when you find the right woman, like, I don't know, dude. Like, as much as I
Tractor beam.
I do walk my own path, and she's very good about, like, you are you. There are some arguments you will never win. Yeah. And
you've accepted this.
I grew up with, mom after dad moved out, and 4 sisters. So like I communicate with women very well. So I learned this early.
Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to. Yeah.
And so we get a dog, and I'm like, hey, it has to be trained. I refuse. And my wife is also in a wheelchair. So I was like, why don't we get a service dog? So like, she doesn't need a service dog, very independent. She was in a chair.
I got that about her.
She's such a badass, dude.
She's a badass.
She was living on her own, going to college, trying out for the Paralympic swim team when I met her. Had been in a chair for about 2 years when I met her. Yeah. She is a savage human being. And so we get this dog. We hire a trainer. And the trainer's like, at the end of it, he's like, because you're not a dog guy, you are stupid good at this. Yeah. Because I have zero emotion.
Yeah, you're not connected to it that way.
A plus B equals C. I tell you to sit, you sit, we win. You don't sit, we now adjust accordingly. Right. And so he was like, you want a job? And I'm like, what's it pay, man? And he's told me the number, and I'm like, that's more money I've made working behind a gun counter. So like, yeah. So like I kind of did gun stuff and the dog training. But yeah, I started off with just, to make money in that business, you have to train everyday dogs.
Right.
Because not everyone needs a $60,000 canine. Right. So I trained, you name it, labs, shih tzus, corgis. And then I got better at specifically service dogs for veterans, because I connect very well with veterans, always have. And then protection canines. And that's where the real fun.
Yeah, the sexy shit.
Oh, dude. Working dogs around gunfire, building, searches. Odin's like a level 3 protection. So
that's your dog.
Yeah. She'll do car extractions, work around live gunfire, fight multiple assailants. She's awesome. And so, for like
that sweet thing in there.
Yeah, you never know, dude.
Yeah.
She, hardest dog I trained, best dog I trained, dude.
Yeah.
But did that for 6 years and was kind of falling out of love with it because much like everything, humans ruin it.
Yeah.
And I'd pour my heart and soul into these dogs, like everything I had.
Here comes the emotion. Yeah.
And then the owners wouldn't do their side and call me 6 months later, like, we want a refund.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, did you do A, B, C, D? No. This is in the contract. You have to uphold. These are living creatures. It's not a calculator, dude.
Right.
Like, you got to
don't set
keep
it
up
and
with
forget it. Yeah.
And so I just fell out of love with it. And then the real estate stuff kind of started at that time.
Okay.
YouTube did, and I just transitioned I had 6 months where I wasn't working. Thankfully, my wife is rich and I'm not. And she supported me and got into the gun YouTube stuff and the real estate stuff. And it's been that. But like, my final straw was my last year. I got put in the ER 3 times from canines, and I was on antibiotics, Augmentin, which is what they use for dog bites. They call it Dogmentin, for like a year, dude. And
what happened? Can you speak to any of it?
Yeah, camera probably won't pick it up. The first good fight I got in canine, right around 2, just being finished to go like be a private security canine. So bad fucking dog, dude. He was a meanie. And we got done training, took the bite suit off, and he was still side-eyeing me a little bit. So I'll take the leash and we'll just go for a walk. Like, de-stress, you turn off your emotions, bring the dog down, Walk by the bite suit, my first mistake. We get complacent, I hadn't been bitten in 6 years of doing this. So I had a pretty good track record. And he went and tried to take a shot at the suit. So I corrected him. He looks at the suit, looks at me, looks at the suit, and I was like, shit.
Here we go.
On 0 to 100. And I mean, we're fighting. So he took mistake number 2. I dropped the leash. You never drop the leash because you can helicopter them, right? Again, my mistake. Took a chunk out of here, disengaged, re-engaged, took a chunk out of this thigh, disengaged, higher up. Third one was really close to the goods, dude. And at the time, I didn't want kids anyways, so I was like, dude, free vasectomy, right? Call it a day,
Well, that's a pretty good attitude, but that's scary, dude.
Yeah, and like, we get it situated, I stand up, and the whole world goes, because the adrenaline, right?
Right.
And I was like,
ow.
Oh, dude, I'm going to throw up.
Ow. Yeah.
And I laid down, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of fucked up, Didn't have health insurance. My stepmom's a ER nurse. So go to my dad's house and I'm like, hey.
She stitched me up.
Yeah. No anesthetic, no painkillers.
Oh, God.
I mean, it was
brutal.
Miserable.
Brutal.
That and I'm in my skivvies.
Right.
And it's my stepmom. She's a professional. We're good,
Yeah, but it's insult to injury.
Yeah, and I'm fat. Just married to my dad, but she's awesome. Thankfully for her, we're good to go. But after 3 iterations of that, similar situations.
Same dog?
No, 3 separate dogs.
Oh, I was just say, Jesus, you jump back in? I thought you were smarter than that, man.
One of them was an aggressive, pit mix. People could say raised by poor owners or whatever. These owners took such good care of that dog. He's just a meanie, dude. Yeah, some dogs, much like humans, are just mean.
Yeah.
And again, I got complacent. I made some mistakes, and he crushed this hand. He bit it 6 times and punched a hole straight through the middle.
In a series of in
rapid
2.5 seconds. Yeah.
And then off into his crate. And I was like, that doesn't hurt too bad. I think I'm good. We keep training, and about 10 minutes later, I couldn't move it, and it swelled up like
purple.
Yeah. So that was the second one. Third one was this hand. I had a security canine punch a hole. My pinky went into his mouth like that, and he punched a hole straight into my hand. And after that, I was like, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I mean, how many lives do you have at that point, right?
And thankfully, none of these were bad. And there's a lot of guys that don't know are like, dude, if a police canine comes after me, I'll give him this arm and just take
Yeah, you do that, bro.
Bro.
Yeah, you do that.
We had a 40-pound Malinois female. Dude, I'm 6'4", 290 right now. She would work me all day, dude. I mean, 40 pounds, and you're like, dude, you'll just throw that thing. Not when it's a motivated individual who doesn't care about anything, because this is the funnest thing in her life.
That's what they live for.
Yeah. So after that, it was time to get out. And I had fallen out of love with it, and humans kind of ruined it a little bit. So it was just time. Yeah. But it was part of the journey. again, that leads to the sales aspect because it's a lot of sales.
There's also the connections piece with the veteran community and staying involved in the gun community, right? So you stay connected in the
very much so.
The Venn diagram of how these different circles sort of cross over one another. Yeah, it's interesting. The having to choosing different things. I mean, I think people, they see where somebody is at a certain point, and the only reason they're seeing that is because the YouTube channel has done what the YouTube channel has done, right? And so you're out there sort of publicly, and there's a lot of assumptions. You said don't assume anything. You've gone through several different quote unquote career changes. Not really though. It's all in the same path.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But there's all these different things that you have to do, and making those transitions is tough. Like, and I see a lot of guys. We talked to a lot of guys that are in the shooting community that were, they I don't know, they're in law enforcement. I talked to a lot of law enforcement guys. There's ex-military guys we've talked to or whatever, and they do something very specific from 19 years old to the time they're in their mid-30s or whatever. They get out and they have to make this transition, and we see a lot of that in the industry at large right now. And you see them trying to maybe start training companies or product companies or whatever. They're just almost at the beginning stages, right, of all the things that you've been through, and maybe not understanding how many shifts they're going to have to make in order to get to where they are. And they're all necessary.
Absolutely.
Right? They're all necessary, but they can kind of get lost in it. And I think that's another thing that kind of plagues the community at large is they want their piece of the pie, and they want it now. I'm not saying veterans and law enforcement officers, so let me stand. I want to be very clear about that. I just mean anybody that's trying to sort of make a living in this space, as fast as it's growing, and as much meat is on the table right now, or as large as the pie is, they get a little anxious, and they get a little, I think they have unrealistic expectations, and that unrealistic expectation, that isn't fulfilled leads to a behavior or set of behaviors that's very off-putting or does damage to them. And in the end, if they've gotten big enough or they've gotten popular in whatever way they've gotten it, they do a little damage, along the way that to your point, like, they ruin it for other people that are really, really trying to do it. So, that's why I wanted to ask you about that, because you had alluded to it, and you said after you'd spent whatever it was, 6 months recovering from the last one or whatever it was, you're just like, I'm done. Like, I got to get out of here, and stop doing this. So thanks for opening up on that. And for anybody that's fearful of dogs or the whole protection dog business and all that stuff, yes, that is part of it. It is true. There are, that is why those dogs are trained. I spent some of my very good friends, this is how they make their living, and they make no bones about it. Like, we do a very, very specific thing. So for those people out there, like, that's why you don't want a pit bull, or that's why you don't want a Malinois or whatever else. You're right. You shouldn't have one of those. And be aware that not all dogs are the little doodle, that you see at the park that you can let run around and whatever else. This is a PSA. Yeah. Like, be respectful.
Absolutely.
And know what you're getting yourself into. I digress. So just jumping back, kind of, you mentioned, like, you've always had a full-time job around the Syndicate and the other things that you've done, which has allowed you to travel all over the country and do all kinds of stuff. And I know in just our brief conversation yesterday and leading up to this, you had talked about some of the things you're doing, with your business partner in the future, because it's turned into a thing, right? You have to really organize your time, and you already mentioned a million times that he's a psychopath and keeps things very organized. Can you maybe let us know? Can we get a little bit of an exclusive here, maybe, on kind of what's coming down the pipe for the Syndicate? What's your audience? The people that do like, seeing what you're doing, maybe even the people that don't, they can prepare to start trolling. Like, in the future. Can you talk about
loaded
it?
Up.
Yeah. Here, start taking notes.
Yeah. So Jake is coming down. So this is November. He's coming down in December to film in Phoenix. Okay. Which is awesome.
It's the first time?
Second, but it's been 3 years since.
Okay.
So big gap. So one, I don't got to travel, which is awesome.
Right.
We are banking some videos here. So after December, we won't film till middle of March again.
That's awesome.
We need a break, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, I need a creative break. I'm sure Jake needs a break from me, because I can be a little bit much, being overly positive and enthusiastic. So a couple things. We're working with Langdon Tactical again. They're Langdon Tactical again. Sorry. They're local here in Phoenix. Great people. working on a new project. I can't talk about what it is. It's a new pistol, but it'll be out here shortly.
Rad?
Huh?
Rad?
Yeah, super cool. From what I've been told, I'm really excited. I meet with them in 2 days to go over it. We got that going. We do a cool series called Hunt for Gucci Gun. So we go to the higher end gun stores in a location. Salt Lake would be example. We just did one in Vegas, which is pretty cool. We're doing that here in Phoenix. So we go to the high end gun stores kind of in the area, or in this case, East Valley. We'll do like Central Phoenix later and West Valley later. But we go and just highlight the shop, dude. Like,
that's rad.
What inventory do you have? We get guys behind the counter involved. Like, just highlight the shop, bro. Like, working behind a gun counter for a long time, there is some weird behaviors where either you walk in and you're treated like an absolute piece of shit, or very good customer service.
Man, I've just come off of 2 podcasts talking about that very thing, and hopefully calling attention to that for the new gun owner or the person that's entering into this industry and looking for answers and information, and all the things that you provide on your channel, but also what they should expect when they go into a gun shop. And unfortunately, the majority of the time, it's can be a very poor experience. Yeah. So anyway, you're highlighting the good ones,
and just this is what you can experience. It also breaks down a lot of walls. If a viewer now goes into that store and is like, "Oh, I found out about you guys because it's Syndicate," the sales guy is now his guard's down. Right. They have something common. This is not an ego thing, but they have something common that they can both talk about that then leads to the further conversation.
Right.
And one thing Jake and I believe in heavily is we are the worst at bringing in new people into this community.
How do you mean?
Great example.
Because of sort of the extremities of the ends that you're going to with the level of firearms?
No, I mean, the community in general is bad at bringing in new people to the gun community.
Oh, we, the collective community, not we
individually.
The Syndicate, got it.
Because of situations like that. Like, at one point, you didn't know what a buffer spring on an AR was.
No clue. Yeah, I remember coming in. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody had to tell me and show me.
Yeah. Or simple stuff like, hey, do you have any clips? Well, they're magazines. But if this is a new guy and all he has heard from movies and everything is clips, homie doesn't know, dude.
Right.
So you have 2 choices there. Dude, they're actually called magazines. Or, hey, bro, yeah, we got clips over here. And then when you go over there, you're like, hey, you may be new. I don't know where you're at in this gun stuff, but these are magazines and these are clips, and this is why they're different. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like, just, like sometimes guys will tease you for this. They're just idiots.
Yeah. There's a million ways you could approach this.
You break down the wall, dude.
Right, yeah.
And then
a million ways.
You take that with anything in the gun industry. Just because I've been doing this I started somewhere, dude.
Right.
I started training at a not terrible, but entry-level training place with my journey at like 21 in Nevada.
Common tale.
Common. Yeah. And then you learn and you grow. And there's plenty of times where I'd ask some Green Beret who was a famous trainer on DMs like, hey, what about this? And they'd be a cockbag, dude.
Yeah, dicks.
If you don't know this already at this point, you don't deserve to own a gun. And it's like, bro, I'm 21, dude. I watch you because I enjoy what you're putting out. I love military stuff. You just fucking killed it for me, man.
Right. Just totally deflated.
Deflated.
Yeah. Right.
And like, especially nowadays with how popular gun ownership has gotten. I worked behind a gun counter 2020. We had a line out.
Gunmageddon.
Oh, bro. Line out the door, 100 people open and close for a year. I mean, it was bananas here.
What was that like?
One, awesome. My own minority gun ownership skyrocketed then.
Oh, it's interesting you use that as the first thing.
I'm all about it, dude.
Yeah.
We need to bring in more people into this community. Otherwise, it's going to go away. That means it can't just be like white, bearded, tattooed dudes, So minority gun ownership skyrocketed, which, depending on where they grow up and background and things of that sort, they might only know gun stuff from movies and video games, which is also how I started. Dude, in every video game, I'd build out the dopest MP5 and run with that around the map, dude. Yeah,
but the stigma, so I understand what you're saying there, like the bearded white guy behind the counter coming across let's just say the guy that phenotypically looks much different than him comes in, tattoos, different types of tattoos, right?
Yeah.
From a different neighborhood, with a different upbringing, culturally much different, those kinds of things. Like, that can be met with a lot of tension.
Yes.
In those situations.
And my view is that dude deserves to protect his family just as much as I do. We can assume anything.
All we want, yeah.
Right? And just by clothing, unfortunately skin color, things of that sort. And like, bro, this is a guy coming in to exercise his Second Amendment rights. If he can pass a government-regulated 4473 background check that the FBI is in charge of, who am I to say he can't own a gun, right? On the flip side, I mean, I know the way I look. We had a guy on the channel recently who was like, I was going to be honest, I expected Chris to be the asshole because of the way he looks and Jake to be the nice guy. It's flipped. Jake's an asshole.
You heard it right here.
So
Jake's the asshole.
I know how I look, and other people know how they look, man.
Right.
It's already intimidating going in to buy a gun.
Right.
If you give a good experience and good customer service and bring people into this, he then tells his buddy, hey, man, this is the shop and these are the dudes. It then...
So what did that look like during Gunmageddon for you?
So cool, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have some black or African-American, I don't know what people prefer. Some black guys come in that, like, look, guys, different part of Mesa. Wife beater, do-rag, tattoos, face tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's cool. And one of them I pulled aside after getting to know him over a couple months. He bought a couple guns here and there. I was like, hey, bro, me to you. Are you good? Like, when you come in here, everyone treats you right? And he's like, bro, I know the way I fucking look. Mm. I'm like, wife beater, face tattoos, do-rag. Mm. He's like, trust me, I know how I look. I'd be apprehensive too. But, like, I just like guns. And he's a software engineer that works from home.
That's crazy.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, again, the dichotomy there of what people think to what the reality is. Yeah.
And him being self-aware enough to realize that too.
Yeah.
But because he was given a good experience.
He keeps coming back. Yeah.
Dude, and all his buddies came back. I have made lifelong friends because of that. Like, I still talk to these dudes. We go to dinner. I've hung out with their families. Like, it's evolved into something cool. And so, like, I think that's something that maybe isn't talked about a lot in the gun industry, is because it is majority white bearded dudes. Yeah. Like, it is.
It just seemingly it's that way. So if I'm that outside observer looking in or thinking about getting into this or wondering where I should start. Yeah. There's that 100%. Yeah. I mean, look,
point
case
and
in point.
case.
Yeah.
And so, like, bringing that kind of aspect to it and just, like, building the community, like, we're there because we have a passion for firearms. Right. And, like, right, wrong, indifferent, however people view it. Obviously, most people are going to be pro 2A here. But, like, the only reason our country can exist with the ethnic diversity, the cultures, everything is because of firearms.
I'm with you 100%.
And I'm also not one of the guys that's like, oh, well, these are modern sporting rifles. Full stop.
Stop.
They have one intent, and it's to take life. Now, you could be the good guy or the bad guy taking life.
Either way, they work.
Let's call this a spade a spade. It is what it is, man. And people don't like the term assault rifle because it's not full auto. That's one of the things where I'm like, bro, just relax.
You can call it whatever the fuck you want. Yeah.
They call them black guns or, like ghost guns, whatever it is.
It's a firearm, man.
It's a firearm, dude. And it has one purpose. We choose predominantly to being the word, train and enjoy the hobby. Other people choose to commit heinous acts with them, but it's the person, and like, I don't know if that answered your question at all, but like the minority gun ownership overall in the last couple of years also aids us. And here's my theory behind this. They are pistol ban, right? A lot of guys in 2020 probably bought rifles or AR pistols, not knowing the full context of the law, right? When that law came into effect, a lot of those guys now are felons overnight.
Yeah.
So the same people that are going to take guns are the same ones who also like, we're all about minorities and like all this stuff. When in reality, they're passing legislation that they're going to have to go to those people that they supposedly support and imprison them, raid their house, all over a piece of plastic. So like, to me, with gun ownership going up across the board, male, female, different cultures, races, ethnicities, whatever it is a giant win in the last 4 years in my book. And it's something that no one talks about, and I champion it, dude.
I love that. I just had Martin on from Firearms Chronicles.
Okay.
And you never see him, right? He just puts out his stuff all the time. I'm sure you're familiar. He's constantly trying to keep people updated on all the things that are happening.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him and said, man, I want to know more, like, because I really enjoy like kind of his process in putting things out. He goes a little longer into the comment sections and things with his descriptions. And I love what he's doing because he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's just taken what other people have done and done a really good job with and put it kind of all together where you can get it sort of in one place.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about in that discussion or that conversation was how shocked people are to find out that he's Mexican American.
Yeah.
Like they're like, they thought, and he said this in the podcast, they figured he'd be, when they meet him, they figured he'd be a white guy with a beard, and tattoos. Like I think
stereotypes are stereotype for a reason.
verbatim, and they're very shocked to hear about that. Yeah. He kind of went a little longer on, his experience, the neighborhoods he grew up in, from a cultural perspective, how he was introduced, where his family lies and political lines from the blue to the red situation. And while they may be, on one side, they're very pro Second Amendment because of their same reasons. We're very pro Second Amendment. They understand that. And they've come from places, their parents have come from places in the world where they didn't have that. And they're acutely aware of what it looks like when you don't have rights to these things, or a government, or, let's just say a corrupt, just bureaucrats or whatever are running or ruling the roost unjustly, unfairly, and oppressing people in all kinds of atrocious types of ways.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that conversation and cross those lines and pull more people in, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's uber important that we expand the conversation and at least be, and I think the only way to start that conversation is to at least be approachable, right? I can't change the way I look. Yeah. I'm not going to shave my beard, not yet. I like it. So this is, but
it's makeup for men, dude.
I also understand, in my life, people have looked at me a certain way. I live smack dab in the middle of the Silicon Valley, right? I think I was sharing this with you before. If I go to, my stepdaughter goes to school in probably some of the richest soil in the United States of America, where all the venture capitalists for the Silicon Valley live. Their kids go to school, right? That's where they work. That's where their businesses are. It's disgusting money. When I look at it, more power to you, man. You're doing your thing. I don't hold anything against you, but we're not the same. And I understand that we're not the same. We look at things differently. I don't work for a corporation. I'm not, the lifestyle that you live is much different than mine. I understand I'm an alien when I walk into the room, and it's very uninviting. I've sat there, I've walked into the room and just be like, I'm the weird guy. I'm the intimidating guy. I'm the guy they don't understand.
Correct.
And because they don't understand it, they fear it. And then all of the things come along with it. And again, this community, part of not bringing people into it has a lot to do with that. The stereotype, make no mistake about it, as much as you stereotype, the people that you're looking out for, or trying to be prepared for from the boogeyman perspective, whatever it is in your mind, in your neighborhood, that person that you think about when you think about, hey, who is it that I'm going to have to protect myself or my family from? They think exactly the same thing. Yeah. Just think about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And make no mistake about it. To them, that's you. That is you.
Absolutely.
And if you just sat back and thought about that for a second, maybe you care or don't care. But maybe just think about it, if you cared a little bit, and if you really believed in the Second Amendment, then you have to believe in that for every citizen of the United States, right? Every person of the world, for that matter, they have the right to defend themselves.
Every single one.
For every single one of them, despite, I got into this conversation a little bit last night with Chris Palmer. I had an opportunity to sit down with
Chris.
him. Yeah, he's an amazing dude.
Solid human being.
Tons of insight, no pun intended, with regard to his Instagram handle, and just wisdom, kind of for days, from experience and the things. And we talked about this, look, everybody, they have the same right as I do. And as a police officer, you have to, he's talking about having to respect that and understand that they're faced with the same challenges you are, and they think the same way you do. Mm-hmm. Maybe they vote a little differently or whatever else, but fundamentally, it is the same. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be having those conversations. Right. Part of my mission going into the next year is to have more conversations outside of the typical stereotype. Mm-hmm. It's just happen to be my friends. I mean, a lot of my friends have beards and tattoos. It just is what it is. But it's not that those are the only friends I want, right? Or have.
Yeah.
It's just the ones specifically that I like to sit down and have these conversations with. Yeah. But I would love to have more conversations about that from a cultural perspective. When we start looking at, the ethnic ties and lines and viewpoints and whatnot, just to kind of get the word out there. And if you're not interested in listening to it, don't fucking listen.
Click.
Yeah, exactly. Just move on. But I do believe there's folks out there that want to be involved, and they're looking at a barrier going, yeah. And also, let's be honest, and we talk about the world of competition and how much weight has been put in that. And if you're not competing, then you're not really challenging yourself and all of that. I think there's some truth in that.
Sure.
But you also have to accept that if you believe anything, to be true what we just said about there being us creating some type of a friction for people to enter in the community, you also have to admit that when you go to these competitions, it's a bunch of fucking assholes a lot of time. Like, I like competition the best as much as the next guy, but you know what? Like, I don't want to go spend a full Saturday out there with a bunch of dickheads. Like,
who would?
Exactly. So if people are trying to get into it, like those guys that are constantly pushing the competition, whatever, I like competing, and I don't care where I line up. I have no desire to be a grandmaster or anything. If they're shooting, people go, well, then, you're not worthy and you shouldn't be talking about shooting. Whatever, dude. My point is like, there's probably, I know there's a lot of people that would do that and have tried it, and they've gone out there and you go like, I enjoy shooting. This is part of who I am. It's not what I do. I don't connect my identity to it. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to spend the time that I have on the weekend away from my family, my money, my dollars, right, around a bag of dicks.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. So think about that when you're putting that out there. Like, if you sound like a dick when you're telling somebody they should go shoot comps or whatever, and saying like, this is the standard, and if you don't do this, you don't add up, then understand what you're doing to the Second Amendment here in the United States in terms of drawing lines between who's welcome and who isn't welcome in terms of practicing it, or not practicing, but exercising it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a lot more people would train if you made it a little bit more attractive to actually go out and train.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that bothers me, and I don't talk about a lot, but I have lately, because I'm just looking at going, you know what? Like, if you're really in the fight, then fucking be like, you got to fight for everybody. That's what it is. Like,
across the board.
Across the board. So anyhow, not just your boys, right? And then that little echo chamber you like to live in because it's
comfy,
very, very validating, and
it's comfy.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah. The comp stuff is, we get asked, we filmed our first comp at Infinity, which was this like Grandmaster comp, and we're brand new to comp shooting. So like, when I say destroyed on
the scorecard, you mean?
Yeah. And like, I know I'm very comfortable with who I am. That is not the style of shooting that that's not the style of shooting I like to do. But also, I have friends that shoot comps here, and they're always like, dude, why don't you come? Why don't you come? Well, it's because the first couple times I went, all the comments were, let's see how this dude on YouTube shoots. And I'm like, bro, you've already put it in your head that I'm going to do terrible.
Right.
I'm just as nervous as anyone else. Dude, I shoot for 4 of my 5 jobs, man.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm not nervous to show up to this thing that's uncomfortable, not used to.
That's one of the beauties in the competition, right? Yeah.
Push yourself, right? But after a couple times of that, like, like the YouTube guy, and I'm like, part of me wants to be like, let's go out and let's train how I train, right? Lots of moving, lots of AR stuff.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, you're not going to be good at that either, because this is all you do. Now, your hit factor and stuff might be good, but like, have you moved in and around and through a house or a vehicle with a firearm, let alone not a pistol, a rifle?
Right.
Oh, you haven't. So right there, I'm going to tell you right now, not in a cocky way, I've done that a fuck ton. So I'm going to be better at it.
Right.
But I'd never be like, well, don't come do that.
Right.
Be like, bro, this is my way of shooting. I enjoy the hell out of
Or
this.
you're a shitty shooter because you don't do that too. Right.
Correct.
It's context, man.
And I started off by thinking if you're comp shooting and not tactical shooting, it's a waste of your time. I started that way 12, 13 years ago, and then was humbled and found out, especially after working with some special operations guys that took comp shooting to the next level, because then they applied tactics to that for their real job. And all those dudes are men I respect incredibly, some of the best shooters in the world.
But then they're not on Instagram.
No.
Right.
You'll never know them.
Right.
You'll never know their names, dude.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing. And having said all that, some of the negative stuff we talked about, the positive stuff, at the end of the day, like, I just love guns, man.
Yeah.
We get asked, like, what's this? What's better? What's this or this? And I'm like, I like this one for this and this one for this. 2 good things can exist at once.
Yeah.
And just because I like Cobalt doesn't mean I don't like Knight's Armament. Doesn't mean I don't. Dude, like, cool gun shit is cool gun shit. So, like, at the end of the day, let's try to remember that. Like, everyone's at their own space in this. And it's okay if they like something that you don't. Like, again, I don't care, bro.
Yeah. I think that's a not taking yourself too seriously, but also being open to that thought. And the thing I like to leave it with is, look, it's okay to have fun.
That's
Like
why we're
it's
doing
okay
it.
to go out and shoot something that you'll never ever get to shoot again and have fun with it and joke around and fuck up with it and whatever else.
Yeah.
Not take yourself too seriously because it's a YouTube channel,
Bro.
right? We're just shooting guns today. That's all we're doing. Like we're not saying anything other than, hey, here's what this is my experience today with this particular thing, or over 24 or 48 hours with HK, or whatever else that you're doing. You just happen to be doing it differently than them.
Yeah. And like, sometimes we'll get sometimes we'll get like, man, I don't like these videos on an MP7 because I'll never be able to get one. I'm not a car guy, but do you watch Lamborghini videos? Because like, it's just fucking cool, bro.
Right. Yeah, I know. Everybody has their things, right? Yeah.
That, and with that attitude, you damn sure will never do that.
Right.
Dude,
right.
Why not? Like, MP7s, machine guns, belt feds are so available nowadays. You can do it if you want. You want to start your own YouTube channel? It is free to start a YouTube.
Free.
Please, show me how it's done, dude.
Because
you're probably going to do it better, but it's free. And like, I want to see, dude. And so like, at the end of the day, I guess, like, just be kind, like, bring people in this community. It's, we get to do the coolest stuff ever. And there's just like a lot of fighting and bickering that is just not necessary.
It is the Second Amendment, right? It is the great part about it. And that's the country we live in and the things that we are afforded the privileges to do. That's why it's so important that you do support it.
Because it protects the first.
100, and all the other things, whether you like all of those things or not, there's value in them. And whether you're rooting yourself, whatever you're rooting yourself in terms of your foundation, whether it's the Constitution, whether it's faith, whether it's the universe, whether it's whatever, like, you have to come back to the roots on it. And you're absolutely right. Without the second, we don't have the other things. And that is what makes this country what it is. Yeah. And I just love the style in which you guys are representing
Thank you, brother.
And you personally, in terms of being just an ambassador, for the people and the people within the community, the different brands that you've represented, including your own, how you do it. I think a lot of lessons, can be learned from that. I think you're a great example, and that's why I wanted to sit down with you today. So
thank you.
With that and sort of wrapping it up, a couple things. First, thank you so much for inviting me into your home.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for sharing, your story, your time, some smokes, and just being you. I highly value that, and I know this won't be the last conversation we have. But,
I hope not.
But with all the times we've actually now seen one another at the ranges, we actually have never shot together, which has to change. We got to fix that. So promise me the next time I come through here, you'll take me out to a little freer America, which is where we are here in Arizona. We can get out to some open space and just dent some primers.
I got a buddy that just got his license for mortars.
Oh, stop it.
So that's on top of the 3 miniguns, the 4 240 Bravos, the 3 MP7s.
Show me where to sign.
Bro.
Show me where to sign.
We're civilians out there in the desert launching mortars, dude.
Can I bring some friends? Because they'll never believe it.
Yeah. No, we'll plan that out. But I got to wrapping up, like, blow some sugar up your ass, which is a quote that I took from Carl Brugger of B&T. It's their saying of, like, pay you some praise, right? Blow sugar up your ass. Great saying, especially from a man like him.
I'm going to prep. All right. I'm prepping.
Yeah.
I don't usually take this stuff very well, but go ahead.
You've not been at this a long time and made some connections that have taken me 12 years to make. And you've had some incredible guests on and met some men that I've worked with that I look up to highly, whether it's civilian, law enforcement, military. And I think it all comes down to what we talked about at the very beginning. Morals, ethics. Like, I refuse to compromise those things, and you're that type of person too, which means you're accepted into certain circles, even if you didn't serve in the military, because they can tell that. So, like, thank you for what you bring to the community. I think it's refreshing. I thought you'd been in the community for a long time when I first found you. And I was like, dude, this guy, like, how have I not heard of this guy before? Like, I know everyone, and you're new to this, and you've made some incredible strides, and I think you're going about it the right way, and you're bringing value to a community that you're new to as well, and experiencing a lot of this for the first time. And so just want to thank you for what you do. I think, dude, you're doing a giant service to people, and, like, the universe, God, whatever you want to say, is put you in this place for a reason, and, like, you're magnifying it, dude. So keep it up. I love it.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for saying so and acknowledging it, and I appreciate that. It means a ton.
It's a lot of hard work, bro. I mean, you've been on the road for 8 days now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That's what people don't see. They don't deserve to see. But like, you're grinding away, and like, I just love you, man, and I love what you're doing, and thank you for bringing me on the channel and being such a good friend outside of this. Like, I've called you with personal stuff, and you've always been there for me, so thank you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man.
Let's go. Let's go on with our day and go on to our lives, and try not to get kicked in the dick too many times a day.
Nah, it's a great day, dude. So
thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother. You're the best. Thanks, guys.